Hello everyone, so today I'll be doing a review on the IJN Kako on War Thunder. And this is a actually a first tier cruiser in the IJN line. So after you get the Kako, you get the Sendai. I also have the Sendai as well. Be doing a review on this one. So it's 8,640 tons, and it's a level 4 ship basically. And here's the armor on the ship. It's pretty heavily armored since it's a heavy cruiser. You have like 76.2 millimeters of armor protecting the fuel. No, actually the sides of it. So I think it could take a torpedo. You also have armor that protects the fuel, which is about 54 millimeters in thickness. You also have more armor that protects the top of it, which is 31.75 millimeters, equivalent to 47 millimeters. You also have some armor on the turrets of the guns. These are 200 millimeter naval guns, and there's 6 of them arranged in this fashion. So there's armor on the top too, 19 millimeters, armor on the side, which is 25 millimeters, effective thickness is 29 millimeters. There's a float plane here, but you can't use it in this game. So there's something called a coal bunker. Here it is. So this is where the coal is stored, and it's in this armored casing. It's about 10 millimeters of thickness. Let's take a look at the X-ray. So ammunition is at the bottom, and you saw that part for the X-ray. So the top deck is armored, right? So basically that protects it from a vertical attack, a shell coming vertically, going into the ammunition magazine and setting it on fire. So it's protected, and that's very good. The fuel is also protected as well. So the fuel is below the waterline of the ship, which I think is a very good design. Well, most ships are like that anyways. Most World War II ships. Blue water vessels. So here's the rudder with the steering gear. And there's 4 propellers here. And 4 transmissions powering, connected to a main engine. So 2 engines, and here's the smoke funnels here. All the smoke from it. Actually, there's 3 engines. Okay, wow. 3 engines of smoke funnels with 4 propellers and 4 transmissions. Okay. And there's an ammunition elevator for each gun. There are several. Let's see how many there are. There's an ammo elevator that goes here, and it goes into this magazine storage area. It's called first storage area. Goes in there. Okay. And there's also there's 5 ammo elevators. I guess since the ammunition is heavy, they need more elevators. And the ammo goes into a magazine, like right there, stored there. 10 of them at a time. And then it's fed into this other elevator, which goes into the gun. There's a fuel tank. The bridge is right here. It's a radio station. I think the Citadel is armored as well. No, it's... Let's see if it's armored. it says right there, the Citadel has armor. Okay, 76, 35 millimeter. So I did upgrade the ship, and as you can see, I have a lot of upgrades on it already, except for armor piercing shells, which I didn't get. I'll probably get that later. And this is a good thing to have, I guess, engaging big ships like battleships or battle cruisers. The ammunition that's on it is not very good with high explosive. It doesn't do a lot of damage. The reload rate for these guns is about, go back to X-ray. It's about the first stage with where the ammunition is fed from the magazine, 10-round magazine. It's about 4 rounds a minute. That is a very long reload time. So that's it takes about 15 seconds to load a round into this big giant gun, which takes quite a little bit. It takes a lot of time, of course. These torpedoes aren't that good. One thing the problem I have with this torpedo, the torpedo system, is it doesn't have a turreted torpedo system. You have to engage each one, and there's 4 on each side, so there's 8 altogether. With a total of 24 torpedoes altogether. Okay. 2 torpedoes, 4 torpedoes on each side, 8 torpedo launchers with 24 torpedoes. Okay, let's try a test run and test this ship out. So as you can see, the high explosive shell can penetrate 60 millimeters of armor. There's a 120 millimeter gun as well, which can penetrate 24 millimeters. There are also 2 120 millimeter guns on each broadside, and it has a pretty high rate of fire, about roughly 1 round every 5.5 seconds or something, or 6 seconds, which is okay. So I'm gonna test it out now.
Gunners are searching for surface targets.
I'm gonna switch to the 120s. Switch to the 200 millimeters. See, it takes quite a long time to reload this thing.
In the air.
When you hit something with it, it's gonna go down. These are pretty large naval guns. Let me see.
All gunners, hold your fire. Aircraft.
Wow. Rock that guy. Switch to 120s. Switch back to the 200 millimeters. main guns.
The Abbey is marked.
That guy got rocked. Switch back to 120s. Too bad the guns don't center every time I have to center.
Gunners are searching for surface targets.
So right now I press E and I'm telling the gun not to engage any targets. Since I'm using the 120s, I'm telling the other guns on the ship not to shoot at anything. Because the AI is terrible at gunnery. Switch back to my 200 millimeters. And 200 millimeters is about 8 inches. Fire. I'm gonna aim a little back because that's the target there is stationary, and I'm moving from right to left. So I gotta aim a little bit more to the right. Hit the ship, and now I just sent it to the bottom of the ocean. Let's see what my 8-inch guns can do to that. One thing you have to keep in mind when you're using large ships like this is that they don't turn very quickly. So you always have to anticipate at a time. Right now, I don't think I'm going to be able to turn that. I'm probably going to have to reverse. Because you really can't turn on a dime with this ship. A ship like this, it has a chrysanthemum seal in the front. I think that kind of like signifies that this is a capital ship. The destroyers don't have it, but the light cruisers, heavy cruisers, battle cruisers, battleships, and aircraft carriers, all types, escort aircraft carriers, the fleet escort carriers, all have this. Big guns like this, I don't think they have shell casings. They don't have brass shell casings. They just have the propellant, which is the propellant, which is a powder, and the warhead, which is a projectile, basically. And they're two separate pieces, and they're not loaded together. So it takes a little bit longer to reload than having a single piece ammunition, like ammunition with a case and the projectile in one. So that type of ammo takes less time to reload with. Kind of like a cartridge for a rifle or something, you know. You don't have two separate things. You just have a rifle cartridge. For artillery pieces, it's different. They usually have two separate charges. They have a charge and a projectile. Now I'm able to turn. See how long it takes to turn? So you don't want to use a ship like this in like an atoll like this, or go into a estuary or anything like that. You want to use this ship to fight in the open ocean. After all, it is a blue water Navy ship, right? It's not a coastal ship like a cutter or a sub chaser or anything like that. This is a fleet ship. That guy's going down. Let's take a look. Use a torpedo. Let's try to use a torpedo. Using the torpedo on this thing isn't very easy. See, you have to select each individual torpedo tube. Such a pain.
Done.
Let's sink the next target ship, wherever that may be. So this ship has pretty good speeds. I upgraded the engine and all the other stuff that needed to be upgraded to get the speed to a pretty respectable level. So I'm able to get 76 kilometers with this modded ship, with this upgraded ship. So the torpedo tubes are there. I prefer to have the torpedo tube with the turrets. This is very inconvenient. And after you finish using every torpedo on one side, you just turn the ship around and use it from the other side. Basically, that's how it works. And the torpedo is not your main weapon in the ship. Your main weapon are the naval guns, like this. This is your main weapon. As for guns, the type of ammunition that you use is very important. That goes for any type of gun. Anything from pistol to a naval howitzer like this. This ship is fast, but it's not very maneuverable because it's so heavy. Just like a train, you know, it takes a lot of energy to stop a train. It takes a lot of energy to make a train move, right? But it takes equally a lot of energy to stop it as well. It's so heavy, it's got a lot of momentum. This torpedo has a range of 10 kilometers at about 70 kilometers an hour.
I see a torpedo impact on the enemy ship.
Which is not as good as the Type 93 torpedo. It's excellent with a speed of 93 kilometers an hour at 20 kilometers, which is unheard of. Back in World War II, nobody had a torpedo like that. Nobody. I think only the Japanese Navy had torpedoes like that. I could definitely use that upgrade for the shells. I hit him with the torpedo, but it's not going down. So, launch another salvo of torpedoes from the other side. And let's see what that does. There's a battleship there. That's unexpected. Turret rotation speed is very slow on this thing. So a more modern type of cruiser would have 2 or 3 guns on one turret, which I think is a much better idea than having each gun, which is separate, you know, like this type of format, which I don't like. This ship doesn't have any type of radar or anything. It doesn't exist. So the torpedo tubes are just simply those holes, you see it? Hopefully he goes down.
Threat in the air. The enemy ship sank.
Ah, he sunk. Great. PBY.
Gunners are searching for airborne and surface targets. Gunners are searching for airborne targets.
PBY in the water. Okay, I took him out. Yes. Wait, where's that battleship? I think the only way to take out that battleship in this test mission is by using torpedoes. So when you make tight turns, just make sure you always slow down the speed when you do it, or the ship is gonna kind of like tilt or something, and that could throw off your aim when you're turning and shooting at the same time. Quite annoying. There's the battleship. Let's sink it with our torpedoes. Since there's no torpedo turret, you just have to turn the whole ship around and do this. That looks like an old battleship. It looks like the type of battleships that existed during World War I, probably the 1920s as well. Kind of like this post-World War II, World War I type of vessels, which pretty much resemble ships from back in World War I. Definitely, my naval guns with these shells aren't going to do very much to that ship. The type of guns that I prefer for cruisers would be maybe 140 millimeters to 155 millimeters.
The enemy ship has been torpedoed.
Yeah, sunk them with torpedoes. Okay, let's get out of here. Great. Let's play actual. And now let's play a game. I added the armor-piercing shells, as you can see. But 462 rounds in here, so that's what I'll be using with the Kako. This ship was, I think it was put into service in 1925, but it was laid out around 1922. This is a pretty old ship. When it was pressed into service in 1941. World War II. So the design of the ship is pretty old, and the ship had been modified when it was pressed into service. So instead of having three separate 7.9-inch turrets, it was replaced with three dual gun 8-inch turrets. So I think it was 203 millimeter. So it was kind of like upped gun from 200 millimeter to 203 millimeter. So from 7.9 inches to 8 inches. And the guns that were added were were marginally better. They were newer guns. And more anti-aircraft guns were added. Torpedo launchers on this thing are terrible. As you can see, there's 3 launchers on each side, and the launchers just have holes in it. That's it. You can see 6 holes. So 4 holes there and 2 holes there. So in order to use a torpedo, you have to move the entire ship. You can't just use a turret. There's no torpedo turret. Which is quite inconvenient. Let's see. On the other side, that's 1 torpedo tube, as you can see. Second torpedo tube, which is right next to it. Green beam. And the 3rd torpedo tube. So the thing has about approximately 24 torpedoes, so you fire a salvo of 6 torpedoes from one side, and then you turn it around and fire the next 6. And then while that happens, it's reloading, and you change sides again and fire another 6, and change broadsides again and fire another 6. 24. These guns have a pretty slow rate of fire, unfortunately. I prefer to use a light cruiser because the rate of fire for this ship is so slow. It's definitely a problem, or I would like a cruiser with more turrets on it. Like 3 triple turrets with maybe 155 millimeters, 40 to 155 millimeters, which has a much better rate of fire. This thing shoots very slow, and it has as much mass as a light cruiser, which doesn't make any sense. Having such a slow rate of fire prevents you from getting fast follow-up shots. That's a bad thing. Change it to armor piercing shells. Slowing down, so I gotta aim more to the left. Within sight, all right. Let's give him a broadside of some 7.9-inch shells. That did something. He's not keeping a constant speed. Keep adjusting my aim. Using this torpedo launcher. Very inconvenient. Not only that, the turrets are very slow. Cruiser has a much better rate of fire than me, pummeling me. The good thing about bigger ships is that you have a lot of crew. The ship has about 650 crew members, so you have enough people to engage in any kind of repairs that you may need. It's a torpedo. kept you going.
This time, the enemy has proven strong.
Wasn't able to sink a ship. Okay, let's play another mission.
Gunners are searching for airborne and
This time
surface
I'll
targets.
start with armor-piercing shells. Turning a ship like this takes a lot of distance. It's like a train. It takes a long time for a train to accelerate. It takes a big object a long time to change direction. It requires so much energy. It's got a lot of momentum. More to the left. It's probably moving faster than me. No, that's not. 76 kilometers an hour is a lot of speed for a ship like this. It has speed, but it doesn't have a lot of you don't have a lot of agility with this thing. It's so heavy. Like with a bus or a truck, you're not gonna have a very agile machine, of course. I'm gonna switch to high explosive. High explosive is better for taking out smaller ships like this because they don't have any armor. This is probably going faster than me, so I better aim ahead. He can't do a lot of damage to me. My ship is heavily armored, and that ship isn't. Destroyers aren't heavily armored. A little bit back. Fire. A little bit more to the right. All these destroyers are shooting. 3 against 1. Now, I don't want to fight here in the open ocean with the destroyers because they got torpedoes. And their torpedoes really mess me up. Probably launches torpedoes, so I better change direction. I want to aim at the midsection of the ship. anticipate that. Okay, goodbye. So heavy cruiser like this would not be good for engaging smaller ships because these guns have a slow rate of fire, and that is not ideal for taking out smaller ships. A light cruiser with some of them have 3-gun turrets, so that's 15 guns for a ship, and that's a lot of guns. Having 155 millimeter guns firing simultaneously has a good rate of fire. Pretty fast because it's a light cruiser. It's definitely got more armor than destroyer. You would clean house against destroyers. You would destroy them pretty easily. More to the left. Direct hits. A little bit higher. He's getting closer, so I'm not going to. Lower. That must have hurt. Okay, that's a right windage.
Thank you very much!
Moving to the right. Ooh, destroyed. Good. Let's go after this guy. I'm thinking that our speed is, my speed in relation to that ship is pretty close, so I guess I could aim here. Good wind, maybe a little bit more to the left. Slow him down. Pretty good. Get ready, aim. Fire. Destroyers don't stand a chance against heavy cruisers because they don't have much armor. Makes can't take the punishment from larger guns. I changed the shells to armor piercing. I'm engaging the cruiser now. The first salvo was high explosive, which was in the breech of the guns already. Now it's going to be high explosive. Let's let them have it. Fire. It got hit. And I hit it. Good, very destroyer right there. 6.8 kilometers. Seems to be stationary. That windage. Nope, a little bit more. Hit. That seems to be good windage. Let's fire another salvo. Will they land on target? A little bit more to the left, I guess. Further away from me, so I better I think the best angle to get the longest range is about 45 degrees. I'm also moving further away from him. Let's go after that cruiser. This bastard was shooting. Windage is wrong for the elevation. We'll try to get the right windage.
Keep the pressure on. Victory is close.
right windage. Don't know about the elevation. It's definitely pretty close. Got hit. Elevation's right, windage is right. Launch another salvo. This time I did a lot better. So this ship is pretty good, I guess. But I still prefer light cruisers when engaging smaller vessels and stuff like that. I like light cruisers like the IJN Sendai and the Kuma class. And this Kuma class light cruiser has been fully modified. This one, it hasn't been fully modified, but it's been almost fully modified. So the weaknesses of heavy cruisers, the guns have a very slow rate of fire. And another gripe that I have about this ship is the way the torpedo tubes are positioned. They're not flexible. You know, you have to move the bow of it. You have to move the entire ship to aim them, and that's a disadvantage, which I don't like. And there's that's two. That's one torpedo launcher. That's the second torpedo launcher. It's hard to see on the X-ray, but see, there's one that's hidden underneath the coal bunker, so there's 6 altogether, and that's the torpedo launcher. The armor on this thing is pretty good. It's got pretty decent armor for a heavy cruiser. And another problem is it's an old design, which means it doesn't have the more modern 8-inch guns, and it has it arranged in this manner instead of having like double turrets, which I think is a lot better. And probably the fire control system is a lot older. So it is what it is. I mean, this is a first tier heavy cruiser, and this is what you get. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching. By Ace 1000 KS 1975 signing